Welcome to Screamville, the home of horror. November in Amityville, a time when the air turns crisp and the days grow short. The year was 1974, and a chill hung over 112 Ocean Avenue. The DeFeo family lived within those walls, oblivious to the darkness about to consume them. Ronald DeFeo Jr., or Butch, was a troubled young man. At 23, he had a history of drug use and petty theft. Some say there was a darkness about him, a simmering rage. Life inside 112 Ocean Avenue had moments of normalcy, but these moments were rare, overshadowed by Butch's erratic behavior. The house itself seemed to hold its breath, the calm before the storm, a storm that would break on a night that would live in infamy. The night of November 13th, 1974. A Wednesday. The wind howled outside 112 Ocean Avenue, rattling the windows like skeletal fingers. Inside, a silence hung heavy in the air, the silence of death. It was around 3:15 a.m. when the shots rang out. 5 shots, 6 shots. Some accounts vary, but one thing is certain. Those shots shattered the silence and the lives of the DeFeo family forever. Neighbors, accustomed to the sounds of a bustling family, heard nothing. No screams, no pleas for help, just the wind whistling a mournful tune through the trees. The darkness swallowed the sounds of violence, keeping its secrets hidden until the morning light. And in the aftermath, only silence remained. A silence that spoke volumes about the horrors that had transpired within the walls of 112 Ocean Avenue. The sun rose, casting a pale light on a scene of unimaginable horror. Police, responding to a frantic call from Butch DeFeo, entered 112 Ocean Avenue to discover a bloodbath. In their beds, lying face down, were the bodies of Ronald DeFeo Sr., his wife Louise, and their 4 children, Dawn, Allison, Mark, and John Matthew, all victims of gunshot wounds, all silenced in the night. The murders sent shockwaves through Amityville, a community unaccustomed to violence of this magnitude. Neighbors gathered in the streets, their faces etched with disbelief and horror. How could this happen? Who could commit such an atrocity? The answer, it seemed, lay within the walls of 112 Ocean Avenue, and the person who held the key to this gruesome puzzle was none other than Ronald DeFeo Jr. himself. Initially, Butch DeFeo maintained his innocence. He told police a rambling story about discovering the bodies, about a possible mob hit. But his story was riddled with inconsistencies. The evidence pointed to him, and under intense questioning, the truth began to unravel. Butch DeFeo confessed. He admitted to taking the lives of his parents and siblings, to methodically shooting them one by one as they slept. But it was his explanation that sent chills down the spines of the seasoned detectives. He spoke of voices that whispered to him in the dead of night, urging him to kill. Voices that he claimed drove him to commit the unthinkable. Was he telling the truth, or was this the desperate attempt of a cold-blooded killer to evade justice? The detectives listened. They took notes, but doubt lingered in their eyes. Was Ronald DeFeo Jr. truly a victim of forces beyond his control, or was this the chilling confession of a madman? In different interviews and appeals, DeFeo has recanted his initial confession and provided alternative explanations for the murders, including claims that his sister Dawn, along with other individuals, were involved, and that he only killed his father in self-defense. DeFeo has also mentioned the influence of drugs and alcohol on his actions. He claimed that his substance abuse at the time played a significant role in the events that transpired. However, whether he directly stated that drugs were the sole reason for his actions and admitted to lying about other aspects of the case later in life is more nuanced. Regardless, news of the DeFeo murders and Butch's chilling confession spread like wildfire. Amityville was in shock. The nation was captivated. How could a seemingly ordinary young man commit such an unspeakable act? Some whispered of an ancient evil that had taken root within the walls of 112 Ocean Avenue, an evil that whispered to Butch, that compelled him to kill. They pointed to the house's dark history, to rumors of previous tragedies and unexplained occurrences. Others dismissed such talk as superstition. They argued that the true evil resided not in the house, but in the mind of a disturbed young man. They pointed to Butch's history of drug use, his erratic behavior, as evidence of a troubled mind on the brink. The question remained, was Ronald DeFeo Jr. a victim of supernatural forces? Or was he simply a cold-blooded killer, using insanity as a shield against the consequences of his actions? The trial of Ronald DeFeo Jr. was a media sensation. Reporters and spectators packed the courtroom, eager to catch a glimpse of the Amityville horror killer. The prosecution presented a straightforward case, arguing that Butch had acted with premeditation, that his crimes were the result of a cold and calculating mind. The defense, however, painted a different picture. They argued that Butch was insane, driven to kill by voices he believed were real. They presented psychiatric evaluations, attempting to convince the jury that their client was not responsible for his actions. The jury deliberated for 2 days, 2 days in which the fate of Ronald DeFeo Jr. hung in the balance. Finally, they reached a verdict. Guilty. Guilty on 6 counts of second-degree murder. Ronald DeFeo Jr., the Amityville horror killer, was sentenced to 6 consecutive life terms in prison. Justice, it seemed, had been served. But the story of 112 Ocean Avenue was far from over. A year passed. The leaves turned once, then twice. The seasons changed, but the shadow of the DeFeo murders still hung heavy over 112 Ocean Avenue. The house stood empty, a stark reminder of the horrors that had unfolded within its walls. But as with all things in time, even the darkest of shadows fade. In December 1975, a young couple, George and Kathy Lutz, along with Kathy's 3 children from a previous marriage, decided to make 112 Ocean Avenue their home. They knew the story. They knew about the murders, but they were undeterred. The price was right, a steal for such a large house in a quiet neighborhood. Besides, George and Kathy saw it as an opportunity for a fresh start. They believed that love could conquer all, even the darkest of histories. They were wrong. Little did they know that they were stepping into a nightmare far greater than they could have ever imagined. A nightmare that would test their sanity, their marriage, and their very souls. A nightmare that would forever be known as the Amityville Horror. The house on the hill. That's what the locals called it, 112 Ocean Avenue. It stood apart from the other houses, not just in size and grandeur, but in the aura that surrounded it, an aura of unease, of something unspoken. George Lutz, a pragmatic man of science, dismissed such talk as superstition. He saw only a beautiful home, a solid structure that would provide shelter and security for his new family. Kathy, however, couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. There was a coldness to the house, a stillness that went beyond the absence of people. It was as if the house itself was holding its breath, waiting for something, waiting for them. At first, it was just a feeling, a fleeting sense of being watched, a chill that ran down her spine when no one was near. But as the days turned into nights, the feeling intensified, becoming a presence that Kathy couldn't ignore. The first sign was the flies. Swarms of them appearing out of nowhere, buzzing incessantly in certain rooms, particularly the sewing room that Kathy had claimed as her own. George, ever the pragmatist, tried to explain it away. He blamed it on the unseasonably warm weather, on a nearby garbage dump. But even he couldn't ignore the sheer number of flies, their persistence, their seeming immunity to the fly swatter he wielded with increasing frustration. Then there were the children. Danny, the youngest, started seeing things, a shadowy figure that lurked in the hallway, a pair of red eyes that glowed in the darkness of his closet. Kathy tried to reassure him, to tell him it was just his imagination. But deep down, a knot of fear was growing in her stomach. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly, terribly wrong. The events started to escalate as the days went by. Doors slammed shut on their own and footsteps echoed in the dead of night. A putrid odor like that of decaying flesh permeated the house, its source untraceable. George, once a skeptic, now found himself waking up in a cold sweat, his heart pounding in his chest. It always happened at the same time, 3:15 a.m., the reported time of the DeFeo murders. He tried to rationalize it, to tell himself it was just stress, just his mind playing tricks on him. But the fear was a tangible thing now, a suffocating presence that clung to him like a shroud. Kathy, too, was experiencing things she couldn't explain. She felt a cold hand on her shoulder, a whisper of her name in the darkness. One night, she woke up to find herself levitating above the bed, her body paralyzed with fear. The house was alive, not with the warmth of a loving home, but with a malevolent energy that seemed to feed off their terror. "28 days. That's all they could take. 28 days of unrelenting horror, of psychological torture that pushed them to the brink of madness. They tried to fight it. They tried to rationalize it. But in the end, they had no choice but to flee. Leaving everything behind, they piled into their car and drove away from 112 Ocean Avenue, never to return. They left behind their belongings, their furniture, their dreams of a fresh start. They left behind the house that had tried to consume them, the house that held the memories of a family destroyed and the chilling whispers of an evil that refused to die. They left behind the Amityville Horror. The Lutz family's story spread like wildfire. People were captivated, horrified, and skeptical all at the same time. Was it true? Could a house be truly haunted? Could evil take on a life of its own, seeping into the very foundation of a home? The debate rages on to this day. Some dismiss the Lutz's story as a hoax, a fabrication designed to sell books and movie rights. Others believe, citing the family's genuine terror, the consistency of their accounts, and the unexplained phenomena that continued to plague the house long after they left. The house at 112 Ocean Avenue still stands. It has changed hands several times over the years, its address even altered in an attempt to discourage curious onlookers, but the legend remains. The Amityville Horror, a chilling reminder that some doors are best left unopened, some houses best left undisturbed. The Lutz family fled 112 Ocean Avenue, seeking refuge from the horrors they claimed to have experienced. They carried with them a chilling tale, one that would soon captivate the nation and spark a firestorm of debate. Word of their ordeal spread quickly, picked up by local newspapers hungry for a sensational story. It wasn't long before a young author named Jay Anson caught wind of the haunting on Ocean Avenue. Intrigued by the Lutz family's account, he saw an opportunity to delve into the unknown, to explore the dark side of the American dream. Little did he know that he was about to pen a cultural phenomenon. Published in 1977, The Amityville Horror by Jay Anson sent shockwaves through the nation. The book, a purportedly true account of the Lutz family's 28 terrifying days in the house on Ocean Avenue, became an instant bestseller. Readers devoured the chilling details, captivated by the family's descent into a nightmare. The book tapped into a primal fear, the fear of the unknown, the fear that our homes, our sanctuaries could be infiltrated by something sinister, something beyond our comprehension. The success of Anson's book was nothing short of phenomenal. It wasn't just a book, it was a cultural event. People couldn't get enough of the Amityville story, hungry for more details, more chills, more insights into the darkness that had descended upon that seemingly ordinary house. Hollywood, never one to miss an opportunity, quickly recognized the cinematic potential of the Amityville Horror. In 1979, just 2 years after the publication of Anson's book, the film adaptation hit theaters, unleashing a new wave of terror upon the world. Starring James Brolin and Margot Kidder as George and Kathy Lutz, the film became an instant box office smash, terrifying audiences with its eerie atmosphere, jump scares, and haunting imagery. The iconic image of the house, its windows transformed into malevolent eyes, became synonymous with horror itself, seared into the minds of moviegoers for generations to come. The Amityville Horror had officially transcended the realm of true crime and entered the realm of pop culture legend. As the book and film gained popularity, so too did the voices of dissent. skeptics emerged, questioning the validity of the Lutz family's claims. They pointed to inconsistencies in the Lutz's accounts, discrepancies between the book and real-life events, and the lack of concrete evidence to support the claims of paranormal activity. Some accused the Lutzes of fabricating the entire story, motivated by greed and a desire for fame. William Weber, the defense attorney for Ronald DeFeo, added fuel to the fire of controversy when he later claimed that he and the Lutzes had concocted the story over many bottles of wine. Weber's admission cast a long shadow of doubt over the entire Amityville saga. Was it all a hoax? A clever fabrication designed to capitalize on the public's fascination with the macabre? Or was there something more, something unexplainable that even the skeptics couldn't dismiss? The controversy surrounding the Amityville horror only served to fuel the media frenzy. Reporters descended upon the quiet town of Amityville, eager to uncover the truth behind the headlines. The house on Ocean Avenue became a magnet for curiosity seekers, paranormal investigators, and tourists eager to catch a glimpse of the infamous dwelling. The line between reality and fiction blurred as the media, hungry for a good story, often sensationalized the events, further muddying the waters of truth. The residents of Amityville, once living in relative anonymity, now found themselves at the center of a media storm. Some welcomed the attention, eager to share their own stories and theories about the house on the hill. Others resented the intrusion, longing for the days when their town was known for its quiet charm, not its association with horror and the supernatural. Despite the controversy, the Amityville Horror proved to be a lucrative franchise for Hollywood. The success of the 1979 film spawned a seemingly endless stream of sequels, prequels, and remakes, each attempting to recapture the chills and thrills of the original. From Amityville II, The Possession. In 1982 to The Amityville Horror in 2005, the franchise continued to churn out films, each offering a new take on the familiar tale, often straying far from the original story and delving into increasingly outlandish and gory territory. While none of the sequels or remakes achieved the critical or commercial success of the original, the Amityville Horror franchise remained a fixture in the horror genre, its name synonymous with haunted houses, demonic possession, and the dark side of suburbia. The house on Ocean Avenue had become a cinematic icon, its legend cemented in the annals of horror movie history. The story of the Amityville Horror continues to fascinate and terrify audiences to this day. The blend of true crime and the supernatural, the enduring questions about the nature of evil and the power of suggestion, all contribute to the story's enduring appeal. Whether you believe in the paranormal or dismiss it as mere superstition, there's no denying the cultural impact of the Amityville Horror. The house at 112 Ocean Avenue still stands, a silent sentinel to a dark and troubled past. It has seen its share of owners over the years, each hoping to find peace and tranquility within its walls. But the legend persists, whispered in hushed tones, passed down from generation to generation. The Amityville Horror, a chilling reminder that some stories, like some houses, never truly die. Life after horror, Amityville today. The sun rises over Amityville, casting a warm glow on the rippling waters of the river. Birds sing in the trees, a gentle breeze rustles through the leaves. Life, it seems, goes on in this quiet Long Island town, even in the shadow of a legend. The DeFeo murders and the Lutz family's subsequent flight from 112 Ocean Avenue might have thrust Amityville into the global spotlight. But for the people who call this town home, it's just that, home. Walk down the streets of Amityville today and you'll find a community that's more than just the setting for a horror story. You'll find friendly faces, local businesses thriving, and a sense of community that runs deep. The Amityville Horror might be a part of the town's history, but it doesn't define its present or its future. The curious case of 108 Ocean Avenue. The house itself, the infamous 112 Ocean Avenue, still stands, a silent sentinel to a dark and troubled past, but you won't find it under that address anymore. In an attempt to reclaim a sense of normalcy, to deter the curious and the morbidly fascinated, the address was changed to 108 Ocean Avenue. Even the iconic eye-like windows, a chilling reminder of the 1979 film adaptation, have been altered, replaced with more traditional windows, as if the house itself is trying to shed its sinister skin. Over the years, the house has changed hands several times, each new owner hoping to find peace and perhaps even a bit of normalcy within its walls. Some say the house is just a house, that the evil, if it ever existed, is long gone. Others whisper that the house remembers, that its history is etched into its very foundation, a darkness that can never truly be erased. To live with a ghost, the burden of fame. Living in the shadow of the Amityville Horror has had its challenges for the residents of Ocean Avenue. For some, it's the constant stream of tourists, drawn to the street by morbid curiosity, eager to catch a glimpse of the haunted house, snapping photos and whispering tales of terror. The quiet suburban life they once knew replaced by a constant feeling of being on display, their street transformed into an unsettling tourist attraction. For others, it's the skepticism, the constant questioning, the need to defend their own experiences, and the sanity of those who lived in the house before them. The Amityville Horror, whether you believe it or not, has a way of following you, of casting a long shadow over your life, even if you're just trying to live in peace, to raise a family, to mow your lawn without the prying eyes of the world watching your every move. The story of the Amityville Horror is a tangled web of fact and fiction, of personal tragedy, alleged paranormal activity, and media sensationalism. It's a story that continues to capture the imagination, to spark debate, to challenge our beliefs about the nature of good and evil, the line between sanity and madness, the very existence of the supernatural. Whether you believe the Lutz's account or dismiss it as a fabrication, there's no denying the power of the story they told. The Amityville Horror, like all good legends, taps into our deepest fears, our fascination with the unknown, our need to believe that there are forces at work in the universe that we can neither explain nor control. And so, Amityville remains a town forever linked to a horror story, a place where reality and legend collide, where the past continues to haunt the present, but it's also a place of resilience, a community that has weathered the storm of notoriety and emerged stronger, a testament to the enduring human spirit, even in the face of unimaginable darkness. When Ed and Lorraine Warren arrived at the Amityville house in 1976, they conducted a thorough investigation. Lorraine, a clairvoyant and medium, reportedly felt an overwhelming sense of a malevolent presence upon entering the home. Ed, a demonologist, used various tools and techniques to detect paranormal activity. During their investigation, the Warrens reported several eerie occurrences. They encountered unexplainable cold spots, and Lorraine experienced strong psychic impressions of the brutal DeFeo murders. Lorraine claimed to see dark, shadowy figures and sensed an inhuman presence. One of the most famous pieces of evidence from their visit is a photograph that purportedly shows a ghostly boy with glowing eyes peeking from a doorway. The Warrens believed this was one of the deceased DeFeo children. The Warrens concluded that the house was indeed haunted by a demonic presence. They believed that the negative energy from the DeFeo murders attracted and empowered these entities, making the house a focal point for paranormal activity. Their investigation of the Amityville house contributed significantly to their fame and cemented the house's place in popular culture. While skeptics have questioned the validity of the Lutz's and the Warrens' claims, the Amityville house remains one of the most famous and controversial hauntings in American history. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more haunting around the world. And if you would like me to do a story of your city, town, or a place you know to be haunted, let me know in the comments.